Hi everyone, the Lone Wolf here, and welcome back to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. In today's video, I got a request for high-tech goods. So these are actually trade goods I found out that drop from data sites. There is supposed to be something interesting that happened there, so we'll take a look at that at the end of EVE Talk. And something else that happened that I think is going to turn out to be pretty interesting is that we did have another plex sale last week, but the impact was not what I expected. So let's jump in for some market stuff. As always, we will start with plex at 40 seconds this time. Let's write that down and let's get started here. Plex. Interestingly enough, you don't see it on the chart here too well, but if we go for the sellers, 964 million almost, the buyers up to 916 million, which is a decent margin in between the two here in Jita, but up in price despite a sale on Green Man Gaming that I read about during the last week. So you can already see the median daily averages here slowly go up. So you have the 5-day moving average that crosses and goes above the 20-day moving average. Now you also have the median daily averages that go above the 5-day moving averages as well. So we are in a slight uptrend for plexes at the moment, and this despite a sale. That is pretty interesting, sort of unexpected in my book. During the summer, I would think that a sale could actually still tie a lot of people over to grab a couple of plexes, keep playing the game, but nope, a lot of ISK is actually just flowing into plex, causing the price to increase. Very interesting. What I did notice, of course, is that last week the multiple pilot training certificates were already selling quite a bit higher than plexes. So let's see if that gap has been closed. Yeah, 960 million for the sellers, 901 million for the buyers for the multiple pilot training certificates. So this one was actually a pretty good barometer to see what plexes were going to do, because the difference between the sellers of both was just too big and plexes had to catch up a little bit. Now, interestingly enough, here we have the 5-day moving average starting to drop back down a little bit. So it's possible that the plex sale has a little bit of a delayed effect on the market, and that we'll see plexes go back down or hesitate a little bit at the current price range of around 960 million. Here a couple of are coming in at 950 million as we speak. Yeah, again, the interesting part here is going to be, will people consider 950 million a good buying opportunity at this point or not? At least some forces are indicating that plexes are slowly going back up, and this during the summer. I think for investments like mine, this is pretty good news. If you want in on this, I mean, you're probably too late for the real bottom, which was at around 850 million. You could have bought those May, June, which historically, now that I'm thinking about this, has been around a bottom period as well during the classical wave cycle that I had spotted, which was to have a bottom May, June, and then to have a top during the winter expansion, so December, January, something like that. It's going to be interesting to see if this can happen again or start happening again, because that cycle was very heavily influenced by the actual expansion cycle of EVE Online. And without major expansions that actually went to the wayside a little bit, plex just went straight up for a couple of years on end, but now here we actually do get the pullback from around February right here, top 1.25 billion down to 850 million, now slowly hesitating but slightly going back up throughout the summer, and then we'll have to see what happens during the winter. But I'm personally expecting a sell opportunity later on in the year. So let's move on to the body risk up. We know that that one is its own little market, very low volumes of these at the moment, probably less than 5 a day being traded in Jita, which is not a lot. Prices going down from 240 million down to 220 million. It is of course something extremely cosmetic, so not that many people I think are interested in the body risk up when you have ships to fly. So low demand, price going down as well, 220 million at the moment. Skill extractors, that could be interesting. We still don't have a full 6-month chart here, but you can clearly also see the strong correlation between the skill extractors and the plexes themselves. Same bottom here at around May, June, then a bit of hesitation here, but at the end here we have the 5-day moving average above the 20-day moving average, and also going up slightly, but not too much. Currently, skill extractors are selling for 218.5 million, and the buyers are at 211.5 million. The interesting thing here, I think, are still the enormous volumes. 208, 173, 474 skill extractors still being brought to the market. That should put a bit of a stop to the increasing price for skill extractors, because that's a pretty damn big volume right here. Still, if plexes manage to go back up, then we could see extractors go back up as well. If on the other hand plexes hesitate or go back down a little bit due to the sale, then of course we will probably see that mirrored in skill extractors as well. Skill injectors of course combine skill extractors with skill point farming, and those are actually going down a little bit, so that's pretty interesting, from 620, maybe 625, something like that, down to 610 million on average. So 625 for the sellers, 594 million for the buyers. They want to pick up skill injectors below 600 million. That is interesting because, well, that is a decent margin here for a 600 million item. And of course the counter movement, where plexes have actually gone up, skill extractors have gone up slightly, the skill injectors have gone down. So the normal assumption here is that the skill points have gone down in cost or in value a little bit to the market, which I think at some point is bound to happen. At some point most people do have the skill points that they want for their core characters, and so skill injectors is something I think that could be very interesting if you see an influx of new players into the game, because those will create high demand for skill injectors. When veterans stick around and when the game is in a bit of a lull, which tends to happen during the summer, I think it's normal that skill points are going to devalue a little bit. For the population that's there, demand is going to drop a little bit, but that could again make this a good investment if you're expecting plexes and skill extractors to go up throughout the winter. So this is a possibility, I think, if you want in on the speculation that I'm doing at the moment. Then skill injectors, right, 600 million, you can probably pick one up with a bit of an aggressive buy order. Then these could be good investments as well if you're expecting a bit of a winter hype or something like that. So pretty interesting market here, pretty interesting also to see Plex this robust despite a sale. Let's take a look at the minerals next, 740. Let's see what that's doing. First of all, here we've got titanium. It looks to me like we are slowly going to break the camel's back here. So titanium was trying really hard to stay around the 6 ISK range. Right here we went back up to 590. We tried to stay above that, but here we also have another pullback back down to 570. So 584 for the sellers, 1 billion units coming in just a few minutes ago, and then 575 for the buyers, which is still 1.6 billion and 2 billion here, 2 billion there. Quite a bit of demand in volumes as well, but people are willing to sell titanium stocks at the moment. Yeah, price still under pressure despite very high demand, so we're not going to go that much lower, but 580, something like that, seems to be a bottom price for titanium, but despite that people are still willing to dump them. So I would probably hold off on selling titanium if I can afford to wait at this point. I do think that if titanium, if there's new demand with the new structure and things like that coming after the summer, that titanium could actually pick back up, go to 6.5, something like that. If you can sell there, you're probably doing a better deal than the current price. On the other hand, 580, 585 is still just below 6 ISK, which is not that bad. We've seen titanium trade for much less than that as well. But seen on the chart, of course, we're close to a 6-month low. Next up, we've got pyrites. Actually rebounding a little bit, but we've seen that once or twice before with a bottom at 9.2 ISK. You see an increase in volume here and there as well. So this is probably investors taking their positions, and 920 seems to be a good bottom price for them, which means that now we jump back up on the chart to 9.6 ISK. Sellers are at 981, buyers are still at 920. So if you want in on that investment, you can try with some buy orders, maybe 925 to 930, something like that will probably yield you an actual purchase. But yeah, you can see here, I think that these are speculators taking their positions as pyrite again reaches that 6-month low on 3 occasions already. Will that be a good investment? Only time will tell, but personally I do think that with the new structures, the new manufacturing facilities, this could cause an increase in demand for minerals as well coming later on. Unfortunately, I still feel like I need some liquid ISK to be ready for the blueprints when those hit, so I'm still unloading some of my minerals, but pyrite, if it's close to 920, I would hold off at the moment. 960, 980, you can maybe try to make a little bit of ISK that way, but I would be careful when it comes to the positions of some of these high-tech minerals. Next up, we've got Mixelon. What's that doing? Trying to hold on and doing so remarkably well, but for the first time here in a few weeks, we do see the 5-day moving average crossing the 20-day moving average on the downside, and we can see daily median averages going down well below this as well, heading towards 72 ISK. So the sellers are at 73.43, definitely broke 74 ISK here, and 68.67 for the buyers. Still a very strong price for Mixelon, but obviously we're starting, I think, to see the pressure from all of the other high-tech minerals being at very low points. So if there's anything that I would still be willing to sell right now, it would be Mixelon, because I do think that this is still a very strong price and that Mixelon will have to retrace some of the gains that it's made right here under pressure from the other high-tech minerals. Basically, mineral market is a little bit oversupplied at the moment due to the summer activity, which creates opportunities, but Mixelon, I think, is your one sell opportunity. Next up, we've got Isogen, again playing with a 6-month low twice now in the last 4 or 5 months here. 88 ISK right here on the chart, bouncing up from that, but here at the very tail end, once again, 5-day moving average and 20-day moving average crossing, and if it has momentum, it's gonna be on the downtrend. So let's take a look at sellers. So keep in mind here 90 on the chart. Sellers are at 90 ISK, buyers are at 85.41, well below the 6-month low. So I think that this is still under pressure. There is some demand, right? 50 million ISK here, people willing to take some positions, probably as investments, but you also have supply here, 42 million units coming as well at 90.15 ISK, and you see that's 58 million coming in at 90.10. So yeah, there is still oversupply despite this very low looking chart. And so if you can pick up some buy orders at like 86, 87, it's probably a pretty good deal for Isogen, because you can see that 88 ISK on the chart is defended quite heavily. Here you have increased volumes causing the price to increase. Here you don't see that much, but we try to go back above 90 ISK. Still, doesn't seem like Isogen is going to be able to hold that, and so this is once again, if you believe in increased demand with the new structures, a good opportunity to probably take some positions on buy orders. Next up here we've got Noxium, also going back up from 450 to 470, but already on its way back down. So unfortunately 456 for the buyers, 467 for the sellers. And what we're seeing here is again 5.8 million, 2 million here, 3.2 million here, more than a front page of new supply. So any increase in price is being swamped by fresh supply, by people willing to unload their Noxium stocks or their Noxium mining, active mining to the market, thus decreasing the price once again. Are we seeing the same pattern? Only once here really, when we approached 430 ISK on a few days here, we saw a big increase in volume to bring the price back in line a little bit, and here maybe a little bit as well, right? We approach 440, you can see a slight uptick here in demand, in volumes, thus increasing the price once again. So Noxium, a very dangerous one in my opinion, because it is still at a historically extremely low price due to the mineral rebalance, still reeling from that, and we can clearly see by how quickly increases in price are being squashed by supply that it is still in an oversupply situation, and it has been like that for a very long time. If you take a 1-year chart, you can see that we've we've slowly been testing lower and lower bottoms here for Noxium with no end in sight. On the other hand, right below 440, I do think taking positions there makes a lot of sense. Does the increased volume here. Next up, the nullsec ones. Let's start with Zydrine, which was pulling back a little bit last week. A little bit of a lag on the server, and it's still pulling back quite interestingly, heading towards 1100 ISK here on probably lower volumes, probably lower demand. 1130 pretty much. So 1130 ISK for the sellers, 1100 ISK for the buyers. So this is starting to close quite narrowly. You still have high supply though, 6 million, 2.5 million, 3.5 million, 7 million, all of that in the last 24 hours. This is obviously going to put some pressure on the price. And if you look at the chart here now, for the last 6 months, you can see that this pattern has happened twice before. So I'm probably gonna look at taking a few positions in Zydrine. Despite the fact that it's still pretty expensive. 1100 is not as good as the previous bottom, right? 900 breaking 1000 ISK was not that bad. Right here, 1050. I think it makes sense to buy some Zydrine at this point on this downtrend here, because you'll probably need it for manufacturing later on anyways. So yeah, honestly, pretty interesting to see Zydrine going down like that towards 1100 ISK. And next up here we've got Megasite, which managed to hold on quite nicely at 1400 price range, but under pressure at the tail end here as well. 5-day moving average crossing the 20-day moving average, daily medium prices also going down towards 1350. So sellers are at 1399, so 1300, something like that. Buyers are at 1335, very narrow margin here as well. And supply is probably winning out, yeah, with 5 million, 2 million, 4 million, and 2.2 million again. Half a front page of new supply, so it's not as bad as Zydrine. Well, also only half a front page, but I think the volumes are slightly higher. So both of these apparently under pressure. I think Zydrine is in an interesting position for purchases. Megasite, if you absolutely need to, then of course you're buying Megasite at around 1400. The question is, do you expect this to pull back down as well on increased supply or not? You personally, I'll probably take a bit of position here, but I'll also keep an eye on it and wait maybe for a better buy opportunity below, let's say towards 1300 or something like that, maybe even 1250. Considering the chart, it should be possible if the oversupply situation can last long enough. Next up, we've got Morphite, of course, the outlier because it is used in Tech 2 manufacturing, holding on at 12,000 ISK, so nothing too dramatic to report here. 5-day moving average staying around or just above 20-day moving average, and market here, the sellers 12,162 ISK, the buyers 11,100 ISK, so a decent gap here as well. But Morphite, honestly, I'd wait for it being closer to 10,000 ISK before I would call another buy opportunity. It's something that I've been missing quite often before, but if Prosper obviously called this one as a great buy opportunity. You can see the speculative bubble that happened with the expansion, great sell opportunity. Then of course a natural correction, but holding at 12,000 ISK is still just a healthy medium price for Morphite. I don't think that this is ripe for speculation just yet. Go a bit lower and you'll probably want to move in on this. Next up, Tech 1. Let's see, 1830. And let's see if we can spot some trends here. Armageddon has been under pressure and is still under pressure. So obviously going from 215 million to 190 million with a couple of dips, but nothing too dramatic. It is a 6-month downtrend here for the Armageddon battleship, because usually I think this is tied to the fact that battleships are just not in the meta at the moment. They're not really flown that actively in nullsec. So opportunity to have bought at 180, a little bit of a resurgence, but we're clearly hesitating to cross the 20-day moving average. Supply seems decently healthy here. You still have 21 of them coming in at 194 million, so obviously going to add to the pressure on the Armageddon. I like this because this makes the Armageddon affordable for newer players. Stability, I think this looks pretty decent. Next up here we've got the Caracal, also slightly under pressure, breaking 11.5 11.5 million for the first time in quite a bit. Data points at 11 million, so daily median averages. 11.2 for the sellers, 10.4 for the buyers, and big supply 64, 15, 13. These are pretty decent numbers that are currently putting the caracal price under pressure a little bit. So as well, decent stability in the last 3 months or so, and now probably due to the summer, slightly below average prices for the caracal. You want to take some positions on some of these ships, you could probably afford to do so, but you have to try to spot the right ones, and I would go for ships that are likely to be Gnostic doctrines in case of a war. Next up here we got the Kofter mining ship. Oh, double spike up, very interesting. As we went to 31 million ISK, we're now jumping back up to 36 million for the sellers, 31 million for the buyers. So that to give a little bit of ground, if you can produce Kofters, then this is probably a good idea, because this should mean a little bit of margin on these ships. Interesting that the mining ships are doing this. One thing that could be happening is a bit of speculation on the mining barge remodeling. So they're gonna get a bit of a tune-up, a bit of an update, normally in the August release, maybe a little bit after that, but that should of course increase interest in mining barges, at least temporarily, and so taking some positions on that could be interesting. So if you could have bought these at, let's say, 30 million or just below that, then that would have made sense, but this does seem like speculation to me. Probably, if you're looking for a reason, then it could be the changes coming to the graphics of these mining ships. So they're getting a bit of an update. Next up here we've got the Dominics. Pretty violent looking chart here, going from 195 up to 220, back down below 195, and now here back up to 205 million. So the average around 200 million for a Dominics. It's a bit strange to see this behavior, but we've seen this mirrored in almost all the Galente ships, going down from battleship, battlecruiser, and then cruiser. So we'll take a look at that. It's probably the lack of availability. There are just not that many Dominicses to the market, and so any increase in volume here is going to have an impact on the price. Any decrease in volume is also going to drastically pull the price back down. I think this is what's happening. It's just that there are not that many Dominicses hanging around Cheetah at the moment. Next up here we've got the Drake, also going to 52 million, 6-month low. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th time in 6 months that we're actually reaching that price. This looks violent as well, but 52 million to 58 million is less than 10%. It's quite different from the Dominics that goes from 190 million to 215 million. 25 million gap is quite a bit bigger than what's happening with the Drake. Supply is probably pretty high, with a lot of them coming in. So interestingly enough, Drake, just like the Caracal and like the Armageddon, breaking its average on the low side, and apparently I think with some momentum on lower volumes. So if you want to take a position again, then the Drakes, which buyers are at 48.6 million, so you can easily buy some Drakes below 50 million. It could be a good idea to take that position if you want to, considering the rest of the chart, but not as violent as the Dominic's chart. Next up here we've got the Mauler. Again, decent stability, but going below 11.5 million right here, so slight pressure again. Supply is not looking that hot, but some of them are still coming in for 12 million. Buyers are at 10.5 million, so decent stability despite low availability, pretty low volumes as well, decently stable price. Next up, the Myrmidon. That's been an interesting ride to see right here. 4 spikes up to 64, 65 million, something like that, and every time they drop back down to 54 million. I'm thinking, especially from this spike here, volume spike here and here, that this is actually someone speculating on Myrmidons, and I think they're making a really big mistake, because I think a big part of the pullback is just fresh supply, people spotting that opportunity, thus bringing so many new Myrmidons that are crashing the price, and I think someone is left holding the bag here. Myrmidon's going for 54 million, demand is just almost non-existent, I think because of all of that speculation, so we could actually be pulling the Myrmidon way below its average. If this still had its like median daily price here below 52 million. It's gonna be interesting. to see what is happening exactly. You can see a huge amount of supply still coming in at 54.9 million here. So someone is basically dumping a lot of myrmidons, trying to unload them. I think someone made a big mistake on speculating here. Next up, we've got the Oracle, also going down towards the 6-month low after a bit of a high point here, but again under pressure, breaking the medium on the downtrend. Supply or availability looks pretty damn decent, so under pressure here. Next up, we've got the Raven, actually going up in price a little bit, but coming from 180 million, so pretty damn low price for a battleship, heading to 190. It's low availability that is causing the volatility. So this again here, pretty volatile, move up from 175 to 200 million ISK. It's pretty decent. This is pretty much mirroring the Dominics. So it looks to me like the PvE battleships just don't have the availability for the market, causing quite a bit of volatility to them. Next up here, we've got the Retriever, also up in price quite a little bit. So I'm actually thinking that my theory could be correct. People actually buying some of these ships, expecting increased demand after they get their visual rework. Next up, we've got the Stabber. This again is the cruisers, holding at 11 million. Most of the other ones actually are going below 10.5 million. Availability not very high once again, so this could easily be manipulated, but I think it's very risky because demand is so low at the moment. Next up, we've got the Tornado. Looking okay at 74 million, pretty affordable. Again, this volatility is, I think, because the Tornado is a bit unique. It is the best ganking ship for bigger targets. So from time to time, you get big volume spikes from ganking corporations that resupply their Tornadoes. Next up here, we've got the Typhoon. This could be interesting. The Typhoon was trying to crawl out of a hole that went as low as 165 million ISK, went up to 200 million, but now has to give ground quite substantially. So big increase in volume. I think this could have been tested because I saw, at least from some propaganda, that this might be flying some Typhoons on a deployment, causing the price to increase to 200 million, but industrial response is there right away. Just look at that. You can see now Typhoons being brought to the market, 200, 198 million, 185 million, 182 million, all the way down to 180 million with decent supply. So opportunities like these are spotted and squashed quite quickly. Sometimes I do think at the cost of availability in some of the other ships. And then finally, we've got the Vixor, the other Galente ship that was knowing some volatility, but as expected went up to 14 million, quite short-lived, back down to 12 million already on pretty big supply. Yeah, pretty big numbers right here. So whether these spikes are happening because of Nullsec or speculation, the industrialists are plugging those gaps very, very quickly in the Tech 1 market. Next up, the Tech 2 market, 2740. Let's take a look at that and see if we can spot some trade opportunities. Unfortunately, combine the new taxes with lower activity during the summer, I don't think we'll spot very much. So that's my expectation. Basilisk here, look at this chart, way too stable and holding right in the middle. So the sellers are at 211 million, the buyers 198. Bit of demand coming in. This could be interesting. Let's take a look at this for the next week, right? Basilisk, quite a bit of demand coming in, supporting 200 million price range. Will this cause an increase in price as people see an increased interest in the Basilisk? That could be interesting. If not, then stability is probably here to stay, and the Tech 2 market is going to be very tricky to make trade money in. Next up here, we get the Cerberus, finally the one that showed some activity in the last 2 weeks or so, going from 200 million to 250 million. Obviously something you could have made some money on, now back down to 210, so probably not the right time to sell or buy anymore. Next up here, we've got the Claw, again just meandering between 20 and 22 million. I wouldn't make a move on these. Here's the Guardian. This looked quite alright, right? You had a clear bottom at 130, but it took almost 2 months to go up to 210 million. So 80 million, that's definitely pretty damn good opportunity to trade, but taking 2 months, and then now here we're actually averaging still 180 million. So if you manage to buy at 130, you probably sold already. And if you're looking to buy, you're way too late and it's just not happening. The price needs to go way down, which is not happening at the moment. So again, a nope. Hound, pretty interesting here. A bit of a drop off towards 18 million on some of the median daily prices. So demand is just gone. Buy orders below 17 million. I would say yes, take position in the Hound. It's something you could do if you have ISK and you want to speculate a little bit. Is it risky? Of course. Look at the last 2 months here. Very stable, slow down trend here. But this is a bit of a drop off to what is historically a very good price for the Hound. So just the lack of demand here could make this interesting, but I'm expecting that it could be a very long time before you actually find the right sell opportunity in this market. But a buy opportunity, yes, it's been a long time since we've spotted something like this. Next up here, the Ishtar, again holding at 220. This is just not the place you want to be, I don't think. Next up here, the Manticore dropping off, but after a bit of a price spike. So still 24 million, we're breaking that. Where are the buyers at 22 million? Right here. Maybe, if you're feeling risky, if you want to absolutely make a bit of an investment, then the Hound and the Manticore could be the places to look. Next up, the Nemesis actually going up in price a little bit to 24 million. Sellers are at 23.8, so fresh supply is already causing this to decrease. So we're probably not going to see 10% profit opportunity on this one. And do you want to buy at this point? Probably not. 18.9. 19 million maybe, but on this increase in price here I probably wouldn't. Next up, we've got the Oneros here, very similar to the Guardian. The Oneros showing a buy opportunity at 140 million, but having to wait 3 months for this sell opportunity to spot is of course not what we're used to in the Tech 2 market. Now having to give back ground, but nowhere near enough to say that this is a buy opportunity once again. Purifier next, dropping quite substantially, heading towards 20 million. That's pretty interesting. Demand, well, someone is willing to buy 335 of them at 20 million. So if you want in on the speculation, this is probably the time to do so, unless you expect these 335 to actually get swallowed up. Yeah, maybe at risk waiting, considering the supply that's here in really big numbers, and then being able to pick up some purifiers at around 18 million ISK, that becomes more interesting. So, all right, the bottom is being tested on some of these stealth bombers. Interesting. The Raptor also showing some hesitation right here, but now breaking 24 million, heading towards 22 million. Where are the buyers? 21.3 million, not that much. Possibly a good idea to take a few positions on this one as well. And finally, the Scimitar, unfortunately, 145 was the bottom here, but now still at a high point at 165, and just, yeah, hesitating, nowhere near the volatility like this, which you need for some real speculation, some really juicy trades. So yeah, the Tech 2 market, at least I am spotting a couple of these small ships going down substantially in price on low demand, where you could take some positions. But again, as I've said, that volatility will be, I think, very dependent on Nullsec activity, and so you may have to wait quite a bit longer than what we've seen before. Next up, the Tech 3 market, 33 minutes. Sounds good. Let's take a look at these Tech 3 market expectations. Of course, way oversupplied. Here's the Confessor, crawled out of the hole of 40 million ISK, even data points at 38 million ISK. On a single day, that's crazy. Went up to 44 million, so supply is starting to come in, of course. Here, almost a full front page at 45 million ISK. So 90, 28, 30, yeah, people wanting to sell some tactical destroyers at 45 million. Unfortunately for them here, more supply already coming in, trying for 43.6 million. So this is obviously going to increase the pressure on the price here. Managed to crawl back a little bit, but squashed by oversupply very quickly. Hecate next, ooh, not bad here. Again, bottom 38 million, then holding at 44 million. Did I spot it last week? I think possibly. We saw that fresh supply of Hecates was hesitating, so we went back up to 50 million, but here is the deal, of course. Look at all of that, 20, 22, 24, 15, already going for 49 million and below. So this won't be for very long. I think we'll be seeing a lot of Hecate supply coming in, thus bring the price back down. The Jackdaw next, just slowly heading for 38 million. If you want to purchase a couple of Jackdaws, this is the time to do so. Look at those buyers, 35.6 million for Jackdaws, which honestly from time to time you see Jackdaw fleets in nullsec. It is a missile platform, very versatile, very fast. Could be interesting. I think this chart obviously makes it almost a no-brainer to invest in a couple Jackdaws. So I have a few Confessors at 40 million, and I think a few Jackdaws already. I think I'll buy another 10 Jackdaws. It just makes too little sense not to do that. And then finally we've got the Svepel, not Proteus, holding at 44 million, but probably under pressure as well. Fresh supply, not that much, but still 15, 9, 10 of them coming in here. So the pressure is of course moving to the new opportunity, which at the moment is the Hecate at 50 million. Expect a lot of supply to come in here. If I would have to spot a buy opportunity, the Jackdaw I think is a no-brainer. And then next up, let's take a look at some of the cruisers. Here is the Legion, again also slowly under pressure below 150 now, the bottom of 130 is I think something to keep in mind. Increased volumes right here, keeping the price a bit higher, but availability, coming in with 10, 17, 12, 17, 13, 17. This is obviously going to put more pressure on the Legion. Next up here, the Loki went up to 150 from 130. Again, this is a very good bottom. If you can buy close to 130, you're probably doing a good deal. So 150 is the pressure on here. Not that as much as the Legion, so the Loki still has some room to bring in, but keep one thing in mind here: 155 million, 154 million, 42 units, 153.8 million, 49 units, 17 coming in here again, 12 at 153, and then now they're actually already starting at 148.3. So yeah, the pressure is still showing. Next up here we've got the Proteus, again try to go to 160, the pressure is manifesting itself here with a lot of fresh supply, almost a full front page of new sell orders, 36 of them right here. Obviously they want to bring the Proteus back down, or supply is bringing the Proteus back down. And then finally the Tengu also having to give quite a bit of room, heading towards 150, and fresh supply, more than a full front page of new Tengus, almost 2 pages of new Tengus coming in here. That's pretty crazy, although it's in numbers of 2, so it's probably someone doing a lot of this. 15 right here. So yeah, Tech 3 market oversupplied like crazy. I think the new supply is going to move on the Hecate because that one is still at a decently high price, and the one opportunity is obviously the Jackdaw. If you look at this chart, buyers below 36 million for a tactical destroyer, that is a pretty damn good price. And now for the extra material, 37.25, let's say. So high-tech stuff. High-tech. So this should be drops from data sites which have been changed, and here is the result. Here are the high-tech data chips. Used to be worth absolutely nothing, went up to 80,000 ISK, and here 160,000 ISK. So this is a pretty crazy chart. Currently high-tech data chips are going for around 150,000 ISK for the sellers, 90,000 ISK for the buyers. This is interesting. It did escape my radar, but this should make data sites in HiSec a bit more interesting, right? It used to be worth absolutely nothing. Now this went up a little bit in price. How did they do this? I'm not entirely sure. Is this NPC buy orders or something like that for trade goods? I think that's a possibility, but yeah, obviously increase in value right here. High-tech manufacturing tools, very similar situation here, went up from being worth nothing, 240,000 ISK. So 137,000 for the sellers, 116,000 for the buyers. So I'm suspecting, correct me if I'm wrong, that these are NPC purchases, or what are these used in? I'm not entirely sure. Feel free to post that in the comments, but this is obviously something that can happen that can make you an awful lot of ISK, which is when CCP changes something. That's when you get a chart like this, which is completely crazy, of course. Let's assume that this used to be worth 1,000 ISK. This is now 140,000 ISK right here at the top. This is just a lot of money if you'd made stockpiles of these very cheap goods before. Next, high-tech scanners, again going from absolutely nothing, speculation buying happening right here as well. Look at that, very interesting. People that did this, man, they made a lot of money if they didn't sell too soon. Here, high-tech scanners as well, now going for around 150,000. The small arms only going for 12,000, something like that, so probably less of a change for these, but something very similar happened here, of course. And then the high-tech transmitters, these are probably PI materials, so this is not really part of what we wanted to check. This is a more normal chart. So yeah, this here is another great example of when CCP changes something for the people that were there at the very early stages, or the people that just speculatively made stocks on these very cheap goods during their normal playing of EVE Online. They have made bank on this change. That's just a lot of value that was created all of a sudden, but it is created by CCP. Keep that in mind. CCP is probably one of the parties, the forces in EVE Online that can really make or break some players' wallets. Pretty interesting suggestion, went completely under the radar for me, but yeah, the increased valuation of, I think it's DataSite drops from HiSec showing up on the market right here. Thank you very much for that suggestion. Thank you very much everyone for watching EVE Talk as well, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.